Hello, how are you, friends? This is Bee with Stitchy Witchy Bee. My pronouns are she, her. If you are returning, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. If you are new, welcome. This is a space for everybody, anybody and everybody. I am once again trying to use just the microphone on my phone, so we'll see how that goes. I've also been playing around with where my ring light is. We'll see how that goes, etc., etc. I don't know. We'll see. This one's I didn't intend on filming again this quote unquote soon, but the first couple of weeks of this month have already been pretty crazy. So we're just rolling with it. We're gonna see what we can do to try to keep this from being another hour-long video, which is hilarious because I love videos that are an hour long for Flosstubes, but I don't like making them. I think this is a common thing, and I don't understand it. I think there are other people who have had similar things happen with them. We're just going to jump into it. So I only have 2 completely new starts. But I have several restarts that I did all within the first week of October. I had narrowed it down, quote unquote, narrowed it down to a few Halloween or spooky or whatever patterns that I was going to work on for the month. And then as I was looking them over, I was like, I really love this pattern, but the way that it's currently set up just isn't working for me. So I ended up just restarting them on something new or changing the floss. In one case I did both. And honestly, I'm really happy with how that turned out. But for my 2 completely new starts, one of them is not going to look very exciting. Because it's ecru on cream so far. It's a very small start, but I just wanted to get it going. This is there will be a small trigger warning here for gore. This is Mephisto by UnconventionalXStitch or XStitch. If you haven't heard, they just experienced a fire and lost everything for their home and their business. You can still buy PDFs to support them and help them kind of get back on their feet. But you won't be able to get any of their kits or anything else right now because it all was lost in the fire. But highly recommend you support them by getting PDFs. I've had this pattern for a while. I've really wanted to get it started. The artwork is by Lovell. And again, it's very not exciting, and I've barely gotten a start on it, but I will be doing some more. Just this little bit right here. This pattern is massive. I'm trying to remember. Of course, I'm using my phone for this, so I can't look it up. I want to say it's some like 600,000 stitches. I could be way off on that, but I think it was huge. If I was doing it on 14 count, it'd be movie poster size. I am doing it on a 25 count cream Lugana. Just 1/1. And I don't know if I ever said the pattern name, Mephisto. Sorry, I wrote down notes. I have notes. It's still just very chaotic. I don't know what's happening today. But also this just seemed like the best time to do this. Like I said, it's just a tiny little start. Cream or ecru on cream. Not easy to see, but I want to try to map out a lot of this corner so I can eventually get the whole width so I can cut down my fabric so it isn't driving me crazy because I stitch in hand and that can be a lot. But I am very happy with the 25 count. It's the first time I've worked on it, but I am enjoying it. It's just, it's so small. The other fully new start is a stitch along that was very brief. I think it only lasted about a month for all of the parts. And it's, I believe, History Witches 2 by The Little Stitcher. They've done one that was similar. This is both a start and a restart. I was having a time. I think I initially started on Dusk, and then I didn't like it as much as I wanted to, so I ended up restarting it on one of the tea dyed fabrics that I did. I don't have much to show for it just yet, but I have part of the like the central line and then part of the top border along with so it'll go out to about here, I believe, on this. I love what happened. So this was one of the cuts that I didn't like the look of on my last video. I tried coffee dyeing it again, did literally nothing. Went back through with tea, perfection. Absolutely love it. 10 out of 10. There's still quite a bit up here and down here. So it'll feature 4 different women who are accused of witchcraft. It'll tell their story. I really like it. I definitely want to do the other set that she did with this, History Witches 1 as well at some point. But like I said, I don't have a ton to show for that yet, but I will keep working on it. I think there was the initial piece to do the outlines, and then 4 parts, 1 for each witch. So it really did not last super long, and I think they came out every week, so they were kind of large pieces. I knew as soon as I got the pattern, I wasn't going to be able to keep up with it. It had already, like, I think the first witch was coming out then. So I just went with what I knew I'd be able to keep up with. Oh, no, I was originally doing it on Haunted, and it was fine, but I think I like, based on what the pattern is supposed to look like, I think I like it a lot better on this tea dyed. Now, for the restarts, we're going to start with Black Cat Spell. I'll show the original first, and then the restart. I'm almost caught up to where I was. So this is what I had. This is by, all I have is Ketty, Ketty. I think I got this off of the Witches Garden Crafts Facebook. And honestly, the biggest issue with this was I didn't orient it correctly on the fabric. It's supposed to be a lot taller than it is wide. So I literally just do not have room to do the top line. I'm not even 100% sure if I'd have room to do the bottom and then the black cat that's in the corner. This is based off of the spell that the Sanderson sisters used to turn Thackeray Binks into a black cat in Hocus Pocus. So I restarted it. Like, I was trying to think of how I could possibly do it while still using this fabric. Like, maybe I could do something along here, the other line down here, black cat in the middle instead. But I couldn't figure out how I wanted to actually orient the letters. Like, I was struggling with that because I kind of wanted to make it look like twisting. I don't have the skill for that, so I was like, no, we're just gonna go with, hilariously, another of the tea dyed. You know what? They worked out really well on the second time around. I've been just kind of trying to get a word each time I pick this up, but I don't quite have there yet. But I love how it's turning out. I think it looks so good on this. I don't know. I think it's getting blown out. The lighting is really weird today. And I don't know what's happening with it. Maybe, no, I don't know. It's just the lighting's really weird today. But the tea dye looks so good. I think it will suit this really, really nicely. I'm just very excited to keep getting progress on this. So I will definitely be caught up before the end of the month to at least where I was, possibly further. So that was restart number 1. Restart number 2 was this, I think, poem or saying by the Cryptonaturalist. The pattern was done by Screaming Heart Designs. Oh, and that was just on 14 count tea dyed, by the way, for Black Cat Spell. Sorry. I was doing this on, I want to say this is like a 32 count Silver Moon by Zweigart, maybe. It's like paper thin. actually it's thinner than paper. It's like very sheer. And it does need to be on linen or even weave because there are some quarter stitches. But I wasn't liking working on this, especially not for this project. Like I was just having a time with it. Wasn't enjoying myself. But I really love this pattern. I think the phrase on it is really neat. I just love the way that it was designed, the border and everything. So I restarted it on 28 count Phantom by Picture This Plus. Started in the corner this time, so I only have a small bit to show for it so far. Got little bits and pieces everywhere. This is all I have so far, top corner. I'm doing this with completely different color scheme as well. Now it is with Cape Cod Cottage by Valdani as the main color. Storm Clouds by Gentle Arts as one of the contrasting, and I haven't decided if I'm just using regular white or blanc or, you know, what exactly I'm doing for the third color. I haven't quite decided what will contrast that the best. Yeah, I don't know. I'm already really excited. I'm enjoying this a lot more. It is a big piece to do on linen for me, but I think I will be able to manage. I'm doing okay with it. Next is Make Your Own Magic, which is by Broomsticks and Bobbins. I was originally doing that on, do I still have those notes? I should, doesn't mean I do. Also on Silvery Moon by Zweigart. Now I'm doing it on a piece of 20 count cocoa. And I really don't know if this is going to show up well. I'm hoping it does. This one I might fuss more with the lighting because I desperately want it to look good. Because it's showing up a lot more in person. I'm using... Ooh, I need notes, one moment. Autumn Harvest by Pirate and Robin for a lot of these like leaves and more natural designs. Primitive White by Valdani for things like the moon. Wrought Iron and Otter Creek by Gentle Arts will be coming in later. Swamp Water by Weeks Dye Works will be a few little parts. Let me see if I can find in here. Show a little bit more of my vision. So this is Autumn Harvest. It's just stunning. Okay, here it is. This is the Primitive White, which has a lot of these like grays, kind of goldy browns, just really pretty shades in it. Then there will be bits of Otter Creek, which is this really pretty hand-dyed with lots of greens. Swamp Water, which is these like taupes and browns. Very, very swamp water. And then any bits that look just like magical glints or gleams will be solely done in this metallic Rico Design Works thread. I think this is just in like champagne metallic. So it'll sparkle, but it's sort of like Krynic in that you can only really see it well in person, sadly. In person, already, this little corner looks great. I definitely need to get back into this and work more on it because I do really like the way that it's turning out. And I love it on cocoa. I think that was a great decision. Great switch. This probably had the most aggressive changes out of everything, but I really like them. So I need to get more work done on that. So more of the vision is actually visible. And then last restart was Salem 1692. The pattern for that is by Witch's Garden Crafts. I was doing it just on a 28 count black Zweigart, but now I'm doing it on 28 count Murky by Picture This Plus. Because before, foolishly, I don't know why, like black seemed like it was a good idea. But you can barely see any of what I did get in. This might be upside down, but no, it isn't. There's the door. But you can barely see. You can barely see any of what I was doing. So it was just not working out. It was going to be a good contrast for some of the other colors, but not for what I needed it to be a good contrast for. So now it's being done on Murky, and I think already it's turning out much better. I love the way this fabric looks. It just looks so like dirty and grimy and perfect. So I'm very much enjoying that. Do need to make a lot more progress on it. Hopefully this month I'll be able to get some more in. So that was it for the restarts. And like I said, I knew it wasn't necessarily going to be a lot. I just wanted to actually get them restarted and make sure I enjoyed them more now, and I do. So let's get into the consistent ones that I'd been working on for a bit. So these are my whips or works in progress. First, we are going to go with... Why does it feel like these move somehow? All Hallows Bat, which is by Witchy Stitcher. I'm doing this on 18 count Dark and Stormy by Witch's Garden Crafts. I think with the called for or the closest comparison I could get with what I had in stash. Before I only had him, I believe. So I've come in and done the All Hallows Eve below him, as well as this little pumpkin. I'm starting in on the border that will go all the way around. Making very good progress on him. I can't remember if I updated how far along I am now. I think I did at 62%. That's what I believe this says. I'm blind, so hopefully I'm correct. Yeah, I mostly just have the border and then a few little speckled colors here and there. But I love him. I'm very happy with his progress. I don't know what I was doing when I... There's so much extra that I need, but that's fine. It's fine. So I made pretty good progress on him. This month so far I've put in almost 500 stitches. I've only worked one day on Autumn is as Joyful, but I got a little bit more done on one of the motifs that I had already started. Because I had mentioned in my last video I kind of wanted to go in and fill in the motifs that I just did the outlines for. So I did the inside border of this one and worked on part of the bird, so I need to finish him. But I love this so much. It's been very difficult not working on this more. I love this pattern so much. I love the flosses. I love the fabric. It's beautiful. This one is, the pattern is by Lila's Studio. I'm doing it on 20 count cocoa, fiber on a whim. I am doing the fancy floss conversion. I can't remember off the top of my head if that came with the pattern or if I came up with it. I know I did that for at least one of the patterns I was working on. I can't remember if it was this one or not, but I love it. It's so beautiful. It was so worth it in my mind to splurge on those. I can't wait to work on this more. I might reward myself for getting this video out today by doing that. I'm so happy. I love this one so much. I'm sad I've only worked on it one day in the last couple of weeks, but it is what it is. Next is one I am very excited to have gotten as much progress on as I have. And that is Dancing Witches. The pattern is by Raven Coven. The fabric is an 18 count mottled orange by Banana Oil Fabrics. The floss is Fudge by Bestitch Me. And before I wasn't even sure which way was up and down, and now I know exactly which way is up and down. I have quite a bit of the Central Witch done now. I love her desperately. This is showing up more like butternut squash, where in reality it is very pumpkin orange. None of those are showing it real well. This is the closest and it's still not the right tone. But I'm loving this pattern. It's very woodcut-esque. I don't know if I have a good look. Before the floss I just had in this giant ball. I had not tried to organize it at all. So it's just varying shades of brown. It's very pretty. For silks, I'm just doing it 1/1. Love it. I've really enjoyed working on this, so probably get some more in this month for sure. I want to get as much of that Central Witch done as I can. Then the only completely non-Halloween pattern I've been working on is more progress on the Merry Christmas pattern for a gift for my mom. I've made quite a bit of progress. I was hoping to have like this motif completely done before this video, and it just was not going to happen. And you know what? That's fine. Sorry, my needle is doing all sorts of crazy things. Okay. I got a lot done on it though. So we've started in on the next darker color, which is showing up very nicely. I got almost all of the, I'm so close. I'm so close to finishing out this motif all the way out to the border. I probably only have maybe another 150 stitches left to finish it, and I just didn't have time. But I came down here to see if I was even going to have enough room, and I barely do. I don't know yet how I'm going to be able to finish this. Haven't gotten that far in my thinking. Refuse to let that weigh me down too much, or I'll just stop working on it. So I at least figured out where the bottom is. I just have enough room. Barely. If I hadn't done what messy thing I did at the bottom of this to keep it from losing even more strands, I would probably be in serious trouble. But I'm having a much easier time working on it right now. And I don't know if it's just the simplicity of these motifs, the repetition of it, if this darker blue is that much different from this lighter, but I'm having a lot fewer problems with it just like slipping out of the needle. It's going a lot better. I'm enjoying it a lot more, because toward the end of these houses, I was losing my mind. I took several days break because I was like, I just can't. So I figured out how many stitches I would need to do each day from that point to make my goals for this month. And so far it hasn't been an issue. On the other hand, goals for another pattern I was working on was very poor, very badly done. That pattern is by Tinsel Cross Stitch, completely forgot to mention. It is on 28 count stone by Fiber on a Whim, just with some random blue silks that I've been gifted off of Amazon. Next is this Ouija board pattern, which I don't think I have proper notes on, and I'm very sad about it. I believe this is on an oops die from Bestitch Me. I tried to recreate this when I was doing my RIT Dye experiments, and I haven't been able to get it yet. I will keep searching because, since it's an oops cut, I don't think Bestitch Me is ever going to be selling it again. So I definitely want to try to recreate it as best as possible. It is, I believe, an 18 count oops. And I'm using onyx for this. Before I'd had most of his head and I think his ears, but didn't quite have everything on this side. I've done quite a bit more. So I'm hoping to make good progress on this. It was very easy. Oh my god. I did pretty much all of this in 1 or 2 days. Like, this was very easy to stitch. But the pattern is also by Raven Coven. There's a lot of Raven Coven and a lot of Tinsel cross stitch so far this month. Yeah, I love everything about this. This was also very enjoyable. And it had been a while since I'd worked on it, so I was happy to get back into it. Next is Plants in Petrichor. I am still caught up. And I even ironed it because it was curling so much. I was incredibly anxious about ironing it, so I didn't necessarily use as much heat as I probably should have to really get it smooth. But again, anxiety. Since we last checked in, I think I finished this little cat, and then this shelf was the most recent release. This is being done on 28 count coconut shell by Bestitch Me with the called for DMC. And this is a pattern by Fine Frog Stitching, a stitch along, or Sal. I can't remember what part we're up to now. I think this might have been 7. So we've obviously still got these shelves, the plants that are left in this window, and this. Possibly something else as well. I don't know. Like I said, I can't fully remember how many parts we've gotten done and how many are left. But I'm loving it. One thing that's really, really nice about Fine Frog Stitching stitch-alongs is even though they're weekly releases, they're only about 2 to 250 stitches each. Very easy to keep up with. I also worked on Salem and Memorial. Or is it Salem and Memorium? Which one is it? Let me see if I can read this from here. Memorium, which makes sense. I'm doing this on an 18 count Gray Magic by Bestitch Me as one of their monthlies. I'm doing this with mascara by Weeks Dye Works, just playing around with it. I love it so much. I finished out a little bit here for the numbers, and I think did this bottom border and then came up here to work on this. And this one is by the Witchy Stitcher, another favorite. Yeah, 18 count Gray Magic by Bestitch Me. And mascara, yes, okay. Another one that's just been lovely to stitch on. This fabric is so beautiful. Love everything about that, the tone for this gray. Then we've got just the tiniest amount of progress on, I believe it's this. Tiny amount of progress on this Spooky Halloween sampler by RIT pattern. This is on 20 Count Dusk by Fiber on a Whim. I had only done the H before, so I came in with the A and the L. Oh, I had done the H and the bat, sorry. And this is being done with Night Stalker's Calling, I believe, Toasted Marshmallow. There's a couple of their flosses that are a bit similar in the tones and colors, but I'm pretty sure this is Toasted Marshmallow. Love it. It's beautiful. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what's kind of keeping me from getting tons of progress on this, aside from just ADHD, indecision, too many options. That's probably what it is, if we're being completely honest. Because I do love everything about the fabric and the floss choices. I have zero problems there. We've only got 2 more. The Creation of Witches by Raven Coven. This is being done on 18 Count Spellcraft by Witch's Garden Crafts. I got a decent amount of progress. I don't know exactly how many stitches. Not that I've been consistent about telling you about that anyway, but because this one I don't have in Pattern Keeper, which is what I use for pretty much everything. No idea. So this is just a paper pattern. Before I had this entire skeletal hand, the word "the," and I believe this top border and part of the N on creation. So I finished the word creation of and started working on this bottom border. Didn't even spend that much time on it. This is a very surprisingly quick stitch. Honestly, it doesn't seem like it should be, but it is. And I'm doing the colors Aged White Light so far. I was originally looking at doing a silk from Bestitch Me for the hand, the witch's hand. I'm trying to find it. I don't know where I put it. But upon thinking about it a little bit more, I wasn't fully sold on it in the first place. Because it was like greens and browns, very stereotypically witchy. So what I think I'm going to do instead is actually use, spoiler alert, I tried dyeing some floss when I was doing my RIT Dye experiments. And this was from the Frost Gray. I think it'll show up really well and still be distinct enough to show this is a different hand. It isn't super intense. Like, there's some subtle modeling. I don't know if it'll show up at all, but I'm just more excited about the gray tone of it. I think it'll work out well. So I'll just use that for the witch's hand. So that was that. This, in theory, should be a quick finish. Should have this done by the end of the month. That is the goal. Will I? I don't know. There's also several others that I'm extremely close to finish on that I just have not finished, so who knows. And then the last one is one I sadly have not been keeping up with to the degree I need to. So hopefully, now that I've kind of shifted focus on it a little bit where I'm stitching, I'll have an easier time of it. Who knows? But it is the Victorian House by Tinsel Garden Crafts. I'm doing this for the Make It Murder stitch along that Cross Stitch the Globe is hosting, where you take a pattern and you make it murder. You do something to change it up in a way that's fairly subtle. It's still, generally respectful, but some people are doing tiny towns and just adding little changes, things like that. I knew as soon as I saw this pattern, one, I loved it. I love the Victorian house, but I also knew I desperately wanted to change it to a black or at least very dark gray house. That's just me. That's just what seemed like it was going to suit me better. So I already knew I was going to be making some changes on the colors. So I have some ideas of different ways I'm going to make it murder as I go. This is almost halfway, like just slightly over halfway across, but I kind of got sick of doing this dirt, even though that will completely finish the color. So at some point I'll come in and finish that, but I started working on the porch instead. I don't know how well it's showing up on camera. But I do have a little bit of the porch here. Yeah, I haven't been doing nearly as many stitches this month as I should. So I have quite a bit I need to do to meet my ideal quota to have this done at the time that the stitch along is done. There are some parts that if I don't get them done in time for it, it won't be a huge deal because they won't necessarily be the parts that are important. But we'll see how much I actually get done with it. That one is being done on, it's a pattern by Tinsel cross stitch. And this is, do I have my notes, or is the sticker still on here? I didn't see it. Don't feel it. There it is. This is 18 count Mirage for the fabric. Sorry, that's what I was trying to find. I have my notes all over the place on this one, but I'll usually make a just index card with what the colors are, what the size is, if I have any other patterns that I can steal the floss from, what the stitch size is, and then this is where I've been starting to put any stickers from the fabric so I can keep track of it. New system, still getting used to it, and I also have completely separate floss notes in this one because of how many colors I end up changing from the original, which makes it more complicated. I have no finishes, so that is it for starts and whips. I am going to pause a moment, stop it here just to reconfigure myself, and then I will show off my RIT Dye efforts. I'm very excited about them. There's a couple that are, whatever, but there's several that I'm in love with, and I cannot wait to keep doing more. That is all I have for now, but it'll just be a few moments for you, but for me it'll be a short reset. Okay, I am back. I should have taken a little bit more time to figure out exactly how I was going to do this, and I didn't. So we're just going to hop into it as best I'm able to. So I tried to be semi-scientific, and I say semi-scientific because while I was measuring how much of the dye I was putting in and doing all of that, I was not measuring how much water was being done for each of them. So they have varying water amounts. There's different dilutions of dye because of that. It's whatever. The important things to note on this experiment, I had 5 colors. I had tan, graphite, black, frost gray, and white. And I started out doing this with some scraps of 14 count white Ada, and I would do, made little notes to myself about what was what. So I did one for 30 minutes and then left another one in there for a full 60 minutes total to see how that changed things. So this was for the tan. Then I had the frost gray, not too much of a difference, pretty subtle. I don't know how much this is picking up, so I'm not going to linger too long on this. The wine, my favorite. Oh, my love for this knows no bounds. These are all higgledy-piggledy. I tried doing a few blends on a couple of them. I don't think it worked out very well. There it is. Graphite, there wasn't really much of a difference between these two. So it didn't really change much. This is actually supposed to be the longer duration. You can't really tell. And I don't think I did just a standard black because I didn't think that really, I knew what it was going to look like, right? Now, one thing I will note, when it tells you that you need to shake your bottle of dye, you need to shake your bottle of dye. I'll insert a picture. I was doing the wine at first and I did not shake it. And it came out pink, like not even dark pink, like bright pink. And I was like, this is not what I was expecting. I am not thrilled with this. Yeah, it wasn't working. So I ended up messing around a lot with those. Like I added some black to it initially. to try to make it darker because I was like, I don't know what's going on. That just looked kind of dirty. Like, it's not bad, it's just not great. That was what I tried there. Didn't really work. At one point I tried artfully splashing some of the graphite onto it. And this is where there's some people who are like, yeah, I'm not really artistic, and they'll just mess around. They'll F around and try things. And it looks amazing. And I'm like, you might not think you have any artistic ability, but you do. It's there. You just aren't aware of it. You aren't actively aware of it. Because here's what happened when I tried to artfully splash some of the graphite. Like, it just, what is this? What is this? I have no instinctive artistic ability at all. Like, this is just a blob. This one's slightly better, but still not great. I don't know what happened. We're gonna hide that with the graphite. That's what we're gonna hide it with the beautiful, beautiful wine. I don't even know what happened there. There were a few other attempts. Like, I tried half of the amount of tan. You can barely see it. It's not really even showing up. I was a little surprised by that. But I felt pretty confident, at least about the single colors, and trying to dye larger scraps of 18 count that I was actually going to use. For what? I don't know yet, but for something. I'm really hoping the lighting will help with this. So the first was, I remembered I shook it well, and this was tan, and it came out wildly different from what I expected. This is not showing up even remotely correctly. What is that? No. This is still not even remotely right from what I am seeing. Like, this is gold. This is dark gold right here. This huge splotch. This is before I changed how I was putting it into the mason jar. Like, some of the modeling is interesting here. This is really... It's really just not being kind. You can almost see it for a few moments there, just how intense of a gold this is, but it's not showing up well at all. I'll see if I can take some actual pictures and insert them, because this is not even remotely accurate. So this was with just half an hour. And then I tried putting in another piece immediately after for another half hour, but whatever was left in the dye. And this in person is coming off kind of similar to, I think it's Lightly Salted by Bestitch Me. I might have that name wrong. I'll look it up here as I'm showing this. But it's very, very light. It's still a lot more yellowy than I was initially anticipating, especially with that scrap that I did, which was a beautiful, like, just a really lovely tan color, I guess. You know, what I was initially expecting to see. Let's see. Okay. Again, I don't know how well this is going to compare, but this is more what I would expect. Actually, this is a little dark for some samplers, but this is closer to what I would expect for that. Whereas this is just a lot more yellow. Like, it's lighter than Not Another Sampler, but closer to that, I think, in terms of what it looks like. I'm trying frantically to scroll through. Like, I'm not upset with it at all, but it is definitely not what I was expecting. And admittedly, part of what I'm hoping to be able to do at some point is find something similar to that Oops offcut. Okay, so parts of that look almost like Guardian. I'll try to insert a picture here. By Bestitch Me, since I'm looking through it. But only parts, not consistently. And then Lightly Salted, Not Roasted is what I think this other piece might be close to. I haven't actually gotten that before, so I don't know for sure. The Frosted Gray, I think, worked out a lot better. It's a bit more blue than I was initially anticipating, although Frost Gray, it does make sense. I'm not upset about it at all. Just has definitely more of a blue tone to it than initially anticipated. This was the first half hour, and then I dipped into that same without adding any additional color, and it's a lot paler. This is where a lot more of the blue comes out. This is almost like a light sky blue in shading. And then we get to my favorite, which is graphite. I could not love this more. I'm so excited about how dark and rich this is. Although, why is it haunted? Why is it haunted? Why is it haunted? What's happening? What's happening here? I don't know how I feel about that part, but I love the color. And then this is the same mason jar, just with, of course, less dye because a lot of it was in the other. I love this as well. I was not trying for anything specific with modeling. It just happened. It happened in general like this. Very thrilled. Interestingly, so I'll kind of go slightly out of order on this one. For the wine, I left this one in overnight and added a little bit more dye before I did anything with it. But I left this in overnight to try to fully saturate, to get as lovely and dark and rich as this. Obviously, that did not happen. So I will still be trying to achieve this again because this is stunning. I love this. Please do not get me wrong. I'm so excited to use this. But this though, I want it in my life. I need it in my life. So I think I'm going to need a bigger thing to use on it. So this is kind of they're pretty similar, honestly. And they're also reminiscent to me of Spellcraft by Witch's Garden Crafts that I was using for creation of witches. Actually, can I... Similar vibe, slightly different tone. This is helping show off that color a bit more. Actually, you know what? You know what I'm going to try? No. I've been struggling to get this to show up nicely on camera, and it resists. I was hoping against something really bright it would... No, still not. That's fine. It's fine. But I'm very excited with this. I will be tabling these adventures for a little bit. I'll be coming back to them eventually. With more colors, trying maybe some blends, or attempting to eyedropper in some other colors to get that variation. Don't know how it'll work. Don't know what it'll look like. I think, like I said, I need... right now I'm just using mason jars. So I think I'll need almost like a tray like they use for ice dyeing. Things like that to help control that a little bit better. Maybe even just use ice dyeing as ways to model with other colors. I don't know. But I'm really excited with how it worked. I'm loving it. Can't wait to figure out what I'm going to put on all these. I think the ones I'll struggle with the most are the tan, just because they came out so like gold orange or gold yellow. And I was not expecting that based on the test piece that I did. But I do still think they will turn out very, very beautiful. I just need to see how I can achieve this, which is not showing up well right now, but because I love this so much. Just this really simple tan, which is what I was expecting. But yeah, I have a few others that I'll be getting in the next month or so, some other RIT colors, to keep trying and keep seeing what's out there. Because I know I'll definitely still be purchasing from a lot of the same places I have been, because I love them and I love what they do and want to support them. But especially in the case of that Be Stitch Me Oops, if I can recreate that, because I've used that for so many things. I bought at 2 separate occasions what they had left for it. Like, I love it so much. I got some just as just to see what it was like, and immediately was like, no, I need more of this. I loved it so much. And it was an oops, so who knows if it'll ever happen again. So if I can find a way to recreate stuff like that on my own, I will be extremely happy. Okay, to wrap this up, we will do a couple of quick things. Shout outs. I've been watching a lot of kind of the major creators, but I do have, looks like 4 that I specifically made notes of. Beck's Bin, wonderful, very similar pattern vibes to me. So if you do enjoy what I do, and I'm assuming everybody who follows me already follows these people, but just in case you aren't, I have so few subscribers and they have so many, but just as a, just in case. Lydia's Leisurely Stitching. I will put the spelling for that. Maggie Lou Stitches just put out, I think, 1 or 2 videos, first couple of Flosstubes. Very different vibes and feels from what I do, but absolutely precious, adorable. Loved how she set up her video, how she set up her story. Very interesting. And then the Night Owl Stitcher. Also just wonderful. So those are a couple of the main ones I wanted to shout out. And then there's a lot of the usual Flosstubes that post a lot, have a lot of, higher subscriber count that are pretty prevalent. All of those still the same. I watch a lot of Flosstube just kind of in the background while I'm doing other things, so it's pretty prevalent. And then second to last, instead of a typical fact, I will do a small fact leading into a PSA of sorts. So the small fact is that most county coroners, this is dependent on your specific locality, but most county coroners do not have and do not require a medical license to be a coroner. They are an elected position that you basically just need to be older than 18 and eligible to vote in order to get the position. Incredibly minimal restrictions for somebody who is deciding whether or not some cases need to even be looked at more deeply. Which heads into the PSA of voting. I obviously would love if everyone voted similarly to me, but not everyone's going to, and that's fine. In this election, who knows? But in general, it's fine. However, just be educated about your area. Vote. Make sure to vote. Look into the people in your local elections to make sure they're actually even representing your interests the way that you want them to be represented. I feel very highly on this. I feel very passionately about this. And this is, of course, a big election year this year. If one of the deterrents to voting for you is just the chaos of election day, standing in line for hours and hours, etc., look into early voting in your area. I am a huge proponent of early voting, especially. I have early voted for the past, 10, 15 years. Like, it's been a long time since I did a standard voting day vote. Part of it's because I physically cannot stand for more than about 5 or 10 minutes anymore. So that's right out. So I tend to do early voting. I rarely need to wait at all. Usually I am right in, right out. I've already looked up in my area when early voting starts, what the situation looks like for this year. Like, there's one that's close to where I work. If I'm going in, there's one close to home. I know what the hours are. I know what the general situation is. So I will be doing early voting again this year. Highly recommend looking into it if you just want an alternative, something that's a bit more speedy to go in and out of. The only time in recent years it wasn't quick was because one of the only early voting locations was at the local ballpark. So there's just a lot of people in general, no matter what time you went. But in general, I highly, highly recommend looking into early voting and making sure that you actually do vote, because it's important. It may not seem important, but especially for local elections, like if nothing else, for local elections, it can come down to 1 or 2 votes. It literally can. And it's so important to make sure that the people in your community are actually doing things to represent the people. And then lastly, I started this last month. It was an idea from the Diddy Stitcher and Hobbies and Hyperfocus. They both did this. I drew a tarot card. Last month it was, or the beginning of this month, last month was 8 of Cups, which kind of goes into walking away from a project, letting go of something. It's not failure. You're just stepping away. You're reallocating your time and your energy. And this month, or today, this month, whatever we want to call it, I drew Ace of Swords. This is the same deck as before, which I have now buried. One moment. The Happy Halloween Tarot by Sony Graves. Very, very cute. Ace of Swords. But I also, just for something a little different this time, I drew from a deck I have that is cryptids. I don't know who designed it. I can't remember at all where I got it from. And it's just this completely nondescript white box. But the Ace of Swords is the Thunderbird for this one. And this one's just so cute. I figured I would do that for Halloween. And the Ace of Swords is interesting in contrast to the Eight of Cups, because this is about clarity, new ideas, getting a breakthrough, having a new focus on something. And I think on the heels of just walking away, this is great, because a lot of times you need to step back. You need that distance in order to get clarity, in order to know where you actually do want to go with something. And I just think that's really, really important and really interesting that those, even though they were a couple weeks apart, followed on the heels of each other. Yeah, I love this. I think that's a really interesting and really important thing to think about, is sometimes you need that distance to provide that focus and clarity that you were looking for before, that you were too in the midst of things to find. Yeah, so I think that's roughly where I'll leave you. Plans just continuing as I have been. Hopefully the video that I do at the very tail end of this month, beginning of November, will not be a full, hour and a half long, because this one was in the middle of the month. We'll see. I hope everyone who was affected by the hurricanes is doing all right, or by any of the other weather going on. And again, just a little nudge. If any of the patterns by UnconventionalXStitch interest you, I definitely recommend looking into their PDFs. They have a couple, it's pretty much all full coverage, or mostly full coverage. They do have some without the backgrounds, so you can kind of focus in on the main thing, but they are larger patterns typically. So if those are at all of interest to you, if it's something you've been looking into, they have a couple by Ivy Delamore, who is a fantastic artist that I think are starting to make waves in the full coverage parts of the Flosstube community. I definitely recommend those. Those are a couple I'll be starting eventually. Yeah, this is such a great community. Very supportive of its own. So thank you very much for being here. I know you have dozens, possibly even hundreds of choices of who you could be watching. So I really appreciate you being here and sticking around. I hope you all have a wonderful day, wonderful rest of your weekend. By the time this actually gets posted, I can't remember what his name is. The Runner Stitcher. He should be done with his marathon. So I sadly, I wasn't able to fully participate in that because I was preparing for this. But hopefully Andrew, that was his name. Hopefully everything went well for that. You'll know by the time this goes up how that went. I have no idea. I've been on Do Not Disturb and airplane mode to get this done. But yeah, I'm rambling. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Remember that you are important and loved, and that what you do matters.